Right now at 6, no school and no deal.
I would love to see this end today. This would be wonderful.
Where negotiations stand this evening, and the state lawmakers who are calling for compromise.
Plus, a local county publishes election results days ahead of tomorrow's election.
We do everything that we can to make sure that our elections are secure and fair.
And done deal, as despite objections from some fans, the Portland Timbers hire a new head coach.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this wet and windy Monday, where we're also adjusting to earlier sunsets, way earlier. Right now, about 56 degrees in the Rose City.
And the wind is being blamed for a number of power outages across the area. This is a live look at PGE's outage map. Right now, there are nearly 30 outages affecting more than 700 customers. That is down from this morning when an outage in the Jennings Lodge area of Clackamas County caused the Gladstone School District to start 2 hours late.
Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Matt Safino. So, Matt, when will this latest round be out of here?
Yeah, the crew should be able to get ahead of all of that as we go through the nighttime hours. And tomorrow, still blustery, still showers, but the winds are backing off. The rain won't be quite as frequent or quite as heavy. Although you look at downtown Portland right now from our Wells Fargo Skycam, clouds hanging low over the city, continues to be on the cool side at 56 and the wind at 13, which isn't too bad. And a lot of the leaves have already come off the trees thanks to the last 24 hours, right? Down in Newport, not raining, and the wind is about the same, about 14 miles an hour. So things are beginning to settle down, but we're not done with the rain. On Doppler radar, you can see there's still a lot of showers coming at us, although over the valley right now, there's really a pretty good break. New lightning strike there in the Cascade foothills, and this batch off the Washington coast will roll in later on tonight, just to make sure we keep the showers going for about 24 hours, maybe a little bit less. The rainfall has been super impressive. 63/100ths of an inch today since midnight, or since 4 o'clock yesterday. In the last 24 hours, about 1.5 inches. So yes, all of Oregon has been getting pummeled with rain. And for our young month of November, we're up to 3.5 inches of rain. That's a lot for less than a week in Portland. This is one of our rainiest months of the year, and we're already over 50% of our average rainfall for the entire month. We've already wiped out the deficit from our October rainfall, which is about 70% of average. So showers tonight will continue. We will dry out tomorrow night, and there will be snow in the ski slopes too this week too. But with the clearing tomorrow night, that will present another weather problem, fog. That'll be quick to form the longer nights of November, guys.
So we got through one problem, but now comes another one.
Not too bad, though.
Here we go. Thank you, Matt. All right, let's talk about the teacher strike in Oregon's biggest school district now. Negotiations, pickets, and no school stretch on into yet another day with thousands of families here wondering if there is any end in sight.
Yeah, we have team coverage to get you caught up on the latest here. Blair Best is in the newsroom with the response from state lawmakers. But let's start with Alma McCarty live in Southwest Portland. Alma.
Well, David, China, mediation began again around 1 o'clock this afternoon. Members of the district's bargaining team telling me that they will go into the night in order to reach a deal with the union after failing to do so over the weekend. In North Portland's Peninsula Park, educators rallied for a 4th day of striking, marching through the streets with this message for Portland Public Schools.
This is a public school district. They're supposed to work for our children. They're not working for our children, and we're out here to tell them how to work for their students.
Langston Hamilton teaches dual language Spanish immersion at Sitton Elementary.
I fell in love with teaching. I love working with the younger kids. They have so much like joy and love to share, and I love seeing their faces light up when they learn something new.
Like the rest gathered on the rainy Monday afternoon, he's calling on the district to meet the union's demands for cost of living increases and to cap class sizes, among other things.
We've been asking for the same things. We're asking them to cut administrative costs and put that money in our schools. Because right now we have so many schools that are underfunded and not receiving the support they need.
3 miles away at the district office, PPS leaders gave updates on negotiations with the teachers' union from their perspective.
Over the last week, people have called on our district to make budget cuts. That's been our reality since we began bargaining in January. Each package that we have offered to PAT since we started bargaining in January would require us to make cuts. The question is just how much and from where.
Superintendent Guadalupe Guerrero says over the weekend, PPS made progress with the union on the issue of planning and preparation time. However, he says they're still stuck on wage increases and how much money is available in the district budget.
There are many areas that are important to our Portland Association of Teachers. We would argue they're important to us as well. We have finite resources, so we can do more in one area and a little less in some other areas, or we can do a little bit in all the areas. What we can't do is turn up the dials in every area, because that's simply not viable.
Well, Portland Public Schools families will be notified about in about an hour, around 7 o'clock, if there is going to be school tomorrow or if there is not going to be school tomorrow. Now, it does sound like both the teachers and the administrators would like to see kids back in the classroom as soon as possible. But after speaking with both sides today, it appears that there are a lot of specific issues that they still do not see eye to eye on. David, China.
All right, thank you, Alma. Now let's get to Blair Best with more on the bottom line.
I mean, Blair, we just heard from the superintendent right there again. The district says they do not have enough funds to meet teacher demands. Any chance the state might be willing to step in here?
Well, David, the short answer is no, and that's because of a state law that dates back decades, ensuring that each school district across the state gets an equal amount of state funding. In recent weeks, the Portland Public School District called out state lawmakers, saying they didn't give them enough money during last year's legislative session. But lawmakers are pushing back, saying last spring they gave them the $10.3 billion they asked for, and then some. The district says that $10.3 billion did not cover any new spending. They would need an additional $200 million to meet teachers' demands. And they argue because they're based in a large city, they have even more expenses.
We have provided historic levels of funding, and it's the district's responsibility to meet that. We cannot, never have, shouldn't, probably can't statutorily or constitutionally go in and give any one district extra funds.
It is now on PPS to show up, respect our teachers, negotiate in good faith, and make that happen.
Now, we also want to point out that Portland isn't alone. Leaders from other Oregon teacher unions were in Salem today and shared similar financial concerns. Portland Public Schools also adding that local teacher unions across the state are making expensive proposals, and they say that the state funding is falling short. China.
All right, Blair, thank you for that update. And stay with KGW for continuing coverage of the Portland Public Schools teachers strike. You can find regular updates on air and online at kgw.com and on the KGW app.
In your headlines this evening, hundreds of workers in Yamhill County were back on the picket lines today after walking off the job Friday over what they are calling unfair wages. The county says it offered two options to the union last week. The union did not accept either of those. County officials say in the meantime they are working on plans to limit the strike's impact on critical services. Another bargaining session is scheduled for tomorrow.
One person died and another was hurt in a pre-dawn house fire in northeast Portland. Around 4 a.m., Portland Fire got a call about a possible explosion and a fire at a house on northeast 120th and Broadway. The fire was contained to the room where it started, and officials say oxygen bottles caused the reported explosions. Once the fire was out, crews discovered a person dead inside. Another person went to the hospital with minor injuries. We're told there were no working smoke alarms in that house when the fire started. No word yet on how it started.
Portland police have released the names of two 19-year-olds who were hit and killed by a MAX train over the weekend. Caleb Banzer of Boring and Braden Fear of Hillsborough were in a car that crashed on I-84 in northeast Portland Saturday night. Police say both teens climbed over a barrier to retrieve a piece of the car and then went to a TriMet restricted area. That is when they were hit and killed by a train. TriMet says this marks the 59th and 60th traffic-related death this year in the city.
County health officials are warning parents about certain brands of applesauce due to the risk of extremely high lead levels. The warning includes apple cinnamon flavored fruit puree pouches made by Wanabana, Wise, and Schnucks. Health officials haven't confirmed whether any local children have eaten the tainted products, but if you think that your child has eaten any of them, you're urged to have their blood tested immediately and keep the product packaging for documentation.
And Oregon's governor has appointed a former White House advisor to lead the Oregon Health Authority. Dr. Sejal Hathi brings over a decade of experience in medicine, health policy, and nonprofit development. Right now, she is New Jersey's Deputy Health Commissioner for Public Health Services and the designated state health officer in the Garden State. Prior to that, she served for 2 years as the White House's Senior Policy Advisor for Public Health. Dr. Hathi starts in January. The agency has been without a permanent director for nearly a year. Well, tonight along the Oregon coast, the northern coast, some people are upset with the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. The reason? Well, the agency allowed hunting of nearly 80 elk over a 3-year period. So this all started after a property owner in Clatsop County was having issues with elk destroying his fences and pastures. The state allowed him to get tags to hunt the animals. That was allowed under a state law passed 10 years ago, allowing homeowners to get rid of nuisance animals on their property. In this case, from 2020 until earlier this year, the property owner received 77 tags for elk.
The property in question was experiencing damage, and as an agency, ODFW is statutorily required to assist landowners with alleviating damage.
Our Joe Rainieri did speak to the homeowner over this phone about all this, and hear what he has to say coming up on The Story.